friends of mine could see it too.
All right. All right. And with that, we are live here at Epic Tales from the Sewers. I'm your host, Justin. With me, as always, is my excellent co-host, Mr. Eric. How you doing?
I'm fine. How are you doing, Justin?
Dude, I'm great. I'm excited. We've got a guest
Yes,
today, Eric. And
I guess.
our guest today,
A legend,
a
maybe.
legend, described as the world's greatest TMNT fan. She's been, I mean, you've been around since the beginning of everything. Besides having intimate knowledge of the inner workings of the Turtleverse, I can't even say Turtleverse, dating back to the early days. You're the proprietor of Cowabunga Corner, and most recently, you've been immortalized in the pages of TMNT: The Armageddon Game, issue number 3, with the Myvi Meteor. Please welcome Michele Ivey.
Hello, everyone. Cowabunga!
What's it like being a meteor?
Well, it's a lot of fun because you can have things living on you, and then you can torment them with little shakes and stuff.
Yeah. Do you ever get tormented by the little prince?
I'm pretty sure he's visited a few times.
Thank you for joining us. We were chatting a little bit before and all that, but yeah, I mean, we were talking about this. We were so excited to have you and just to share some of that energy that you just had, like even before. It's like, oh my God, I love all the energy that you bring to being a Turtle fan. And it looks like every part of your being is a Turtle fan.
Just about. I do have other things, but Turtles have taken over my life since the 90s. I gave up in 1999 and trying to leave.
Yeah. Do you own any t-shirts that don't have turtles on them is the question?
Yes, I actually do. In fact, I brought 2 with me on this trip. I have, and there's a reason. It's a nice distraction if I'm going out and I don't want to be recognized. People don't recognize me if I change my shirt. So I have like a standout shirt from the Goofy movie. So,
wow. Okay.
And then I have a Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
I love Goofy.
Cowabunga. Okay, we got some comments coming in and stuff like that.
Christy.
Folks, okay. Oh, Chrissy, great. We were just talking about you, so I'm glad you're here. I'm sure people ask you all the time what got you into Turtles, but I'm sure that there was something after what you got into Turtles that got you hooked on it. What was that thing that got you hooked into this fandom, and what is it that keeps you interested about it?
Well, I can say that got me hooked. I was kind of drawn in like right away. The first thing I ever really saw that stood out to me was a friend emptied a tin of toys. He had a coffee tin and it had like Thundercats, G.I. Joes, and Ghostbusters, but there was one Ninja Turtle toy in that tin. It was a Michelangelo, and I was hooked. I wanted to play with that toy, not knowing what it was.
Oh, wow.
But I got into the cartoon. My mom got me all the toys, but it could have ended up like Ghostbusters and Thundercats, where I was going into the next thing because there was gargoyles and stuff down the road. But the movie came out. And the live action costumes of that first movie, and I'm in a family that builds costumes, just really pulled my entire family into the scene for a little bit there. And again, I could have fell out after that, but then I started meeting people like Eastman and Laird, and every year going to a party with Kevin Eastman. Even when Turtles died down, I'm going out yearly being reminded how much of a Turtle fan I am, going to Mirage Studios and seeing Kevin at the Words and Pictures Museum, to where it just felt like they kept me in. I could not escape. 1999, I said, okay, I know, I'm here.
Nice.
I'm just in.
And I mean, 99, it's like at that point, what is it? Next Mutation was it going or did it end at that point?
It ended. Sadly, It ended in May of 1998. And it ended rather harshly because season 2 was signed for in January of that year. I had actors on the set trying to get me to be a turtle for season 2.
Wow.
So I had Mirage Studios contacting me. Do you know why you're not filming yet? Then I had the actors contacting me. Does Mirage know why we're not filming yet? So I felt like I was sitting in the middle with both sides saying, hey, do you know what's going on? And I'm like, I'm just a fan in the middle. And then in May, the end of May, we got the announcement from the Fox fall lineup, and Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation was not on it. That's how we found out the show was canceled.
Oh wow! So 98. I'm thinking. I'm like you've got maybe The Tick was going on at that time, and I think you're into like the Adventures of Batman and Robin, but I'm not sure what else was on Fox at that time. So
Power Rangers was trying to keep surviving.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
the Beetleborgs, things like that. But you know, we had the Fox Kids live action stuff from Saban, a lot of it at the
Yeah.
time, VR Troopers. But what saved us from letting Power Rangers take over #1, which is why Saban actually canceled the show, was Pokemon. So I'm very thankful to Pokemon for coming out at that time.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was huge, and I mean that continues to be huge. So, and I mean that's what gave us our Ninja Squirtles. So
Yes, I love Squirtle. Squirtle, Squirtle.
I would have to
Squirtle.
figure, is that your favorite Pokemon is Squirtle?
Yes, I've got so many little Squirtle figurines. In fact, the first Squirtle plush I got was from the Words and Pictures Museum. So there's pictures of me with Kevin Eastman carrying it around, and I got it from the museum when it was closing down in 1999.
That's so cool. I finally got to meet Kevin for the first time in person at C2E2. Eric got to meet him a couple times, and you've met him a bunch of times. So has Kevin always been this down to earth guy that you've met from way back to where he is now? Like, is he the same dude?
Yes, yes. Kevin is hilarious. He's always been like, I'm for the fans. He's always thrown the fans forward. This is where I'm at, which is why I feel a lot of times people talk about Kevin more than Peter. Peter's the more reclusive. He'll come out to a few events on the East Coast. You don't normally go West, and it's harder to see Peter. But Kevin's everywhere. Kevin wants to know the fans, and this is how he was back when I first met him in '92. I met him and Peter at the same event.
Nice.
And I thought, you know, this is amazing. And it's going to be my only time meeting him. 2 years later, I met Kevin at the Words and Pictures Museum, and he remembered me from the first meeting 2 years earlier, and I got invited to a party that night. And I'm sitting there going, I get to go to a party with Kevin Eastman? Then I get to have my first real conversation where it's not an autograph line, and I'm standing there, and I'm like, are you guys doing another Ninja Turtle movie? And he goes, yes. Are you going back to Jim Henson's company? Yes. Why? Because in Turtles 3, the turtles look like frogs and Splinter looked like a dog. And then I'm like, I just said that's Kevin. Kevin busted up laughing, agreed with me. And then my sister's like, here, let me take a picture of the two of you. And snaps this picture. Kevin gets a normal smile on his face. I'm still laughing looking at Kevin. And it's one of the pictures I still post of me and Kevin together. And that's, for me, our first real conversation. That was a great...
You could be that candid too about something, because I know a lot of people that are really critical about some of these things, you know, like the third movie, you know, and it's one of those things. It's like, I'm glad it exists, and I feel like in another world there's a better version of it, but there's a lot of things that went wrong. But there's like the Elias performance was great. Paige Turco was great. You know, the kids in the movie were good. It's just all right. Yeah, I was happy we had Corey Feldman back. There was a lot. Robbie Rist didn't miss a beat. Like, he was great in the film. So it's like there's some good stuff in there still.
Well, my opinion, hang on one sec, my phone's telling me I need to plug it in. My opinion of the third movie is a lot different than most, because a lot of people do try to point out all the negative with that movie, but I actually tie it up to Turtles 2 and my order of liking the movies. I think both movies are great and have flaws in about the same amount of ways. For Turtles 3, the biggest flaw is those costumes. And the second biggest is when freaking Walker's falling into the water, and you're like, why? Why couldn't they just cut away instead of showing that choppy move?
Yeah.
But if you stop and think about it, Ninja Turtles, Shredder was supposed to be a one-and-done villain.
Yep.
And we get the first two movies where it's Foot, Shredder versus the Turtles. And I was excited with Turtles 3 giving us a different villain, a different storyline, a different plot. I don't need copycat of the same villain every single time, because there's so many times you could do that before it got boring. So I was excited with the Turtles traveling in time. But what really excited me when I saw the movie was it was the first movie to give Michelangelo a storyline. All the other movies, Mikey's just a comic relief in the background. In that movie, he's standing up to April saying, yeah, your home's a nice apartment. My home's a sewer. there's a backbone to Mikey you don't see in the other movies that I feel really gave that movie a bit more depth for me. And I liked the story. I liked the characters. I liked Wit. I liked Mistu, because Mistu had this backbone where, yeah, she knows who she wants to be with, but she's got to take care of her rebels. She's the leader of this group, and she's going to try and get things right from this warlord. So I felt the movie had a lot more potential, and if the costumes were better, if they stayed with Henson, it would not get as much slam as it does now.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. Is there so talking about this, like with the stories and all that, because you had just mentioned about Mikey finally getting a backbone and all that. Are there stories that you go back to, like maybe from either Mirage or Turtles Adventures or anything else like that stick out? Doesn't necessarily be your favorite, but what do you go back to for stories?
Oh my goodness, there's so many. I've watched every version of Ninja Turtles, and every area of Ninja Turtles has something that pops out to me. In fact, I've spent most of today, I just got an account on Rotten Tomatoes to attack one movie, and I'm like, oh, I should go review all this turtle stuff. So I actually spent most of today reviewing stuff. Like the 4Kids series is one of my favorite animated series of the Ninja Turtles, with the character growth and plot. So I go back to like Same as It Never Was for Donatello. My biggest regret with that is they never did a follow-up where Don had like nightmares or something and had to open up the splinter about what he went through. I think they should have done that. Turtle Titan. There's so much in that series alone. The original cartoon series, I go back to when Leatherhead meets the Rat King. It's one of my favorite villain team-ups ever, him falling around and getting messed up in the sewers. I go back to Cowabunga Threadhead. Huh?
Yep. Jim Cummings as Leatherhead. That's a favorite of mine too.
Oh, yeah. And if you meet him, he'll tell you the story of how he came up with the voice. It's actually based off of somebody he knew.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. He's a very nice guy. I've had the honor of meeting him about 3 or 4 times now.
Darkwing Duck himself and Winnie the Pooh, Ka the Python. So, just name a couple. I always go back to, for myself, I'm a big adventures guy, like TMNT Adventures from like way back.
You got a favorite issue?
Oh yeah, I mean, I like the Mondo Gecko issue, of course, but oh geez, you put me on the spot about my favorite issue.
I know my favorite issue right off the top of my head. That's why I'm like, you got a favorite?
Geez, do you remember the cover where they? Well, geez, I might even want to say Intergalactic Wrestling, because I usually have that up on my wall. But do you remember the cover where Raph is in the black pants and they're all on back of a giant turtle?
Yes.
Like, that cover literally changed the way I thought about liking comic books. And I'm like, whatever this is, I want this. I want in. This is my new thing. So, I would go to that cover, but like for story, it's like I anything with the Mutanimals, like I would be all about.
Mine is issue 59, where Michelangelo's behind the bars on the cover.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's, property of U.S. government, and inside he's actually strapped down and being trivia'd, and they're like going, "What are you?" And he's all drugged up, and he's like, "I'm a ninja. I'm a turtle. I'm a poet. Don't you know it?"
Now, was that Future Mikey, or was that just regular Mikey?
That's regular Mikey. That's Mikey. And that's when they come out to the public, because in that one, April has the full thing on a live talk show, and at the end, they're out there walking and waving at the people.
They save the friggin' world. They should be able to come out.
Right. It's the one time I've really appreciated them actually coming out to the public. I have favorites where that happened, and I have some where I just want to put my head through the wall. Volume 4 of Mirage, I'm like, Peter, you should not have jumped a year later. I wanted to see their first reaction to coming out of the sewers when things were starting to be accepted. And that right there is probably the one where I have the hardest time with it. Fast Forward is okay, because they're just thrown into a world where it's already normal, and they're the ones going, wait, what? We can go out? But the best one for me goes to Archie.
Yeah, nice. And you're a big 4Kids one. I know a lot of times you'll tag Wayne Grayson and all that. So, as Mikey, I think you've mentioned before, that's kind of, is that your Mikey, or is it a mix between him and Townie? Like, what's your
don't
Mikey
forget Robbie Wrist.
How could you forget Robbie Wrist?
Right. My 3 top Mikeys automatically go to Townie, Robbie, and Wayne, almost equal. I have a hard time saying I like one more than the other, because one, I'm friends with all 3 of them.
Yeah.
And two, all three of them bring a different thing to the table. Townie was my first Mikey. Robbie was the Mikey I connected to the first time because I really related to the first movie's Michelangelo's personality the most. And that's usually the voice that when I do Michelangelo, I'm more imitating Robbie Rist than I am Townsend Coleman. In fact, I quote his lines way more. Like I'll be going, "Wise men say forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for a late pizza."
Oh, I love that. That's a really good voice. See, mine. When we do the other episodes, right? When I don't have Eric on, I do like the comics. So I'll read through the Archie comics, or I'll read through Last Ronin or the IDW series. My Mikey is kind of a voice between Townsend and Wayne. Grayson, where it's like he's got kind of like that. Oh no way, man! Like kind of the inflection of Townsend with like that graveliness of that. I love yours. It's so Robbie. It's so good.
When I started doing the birthday parties, I studied the movies the most because I had to study somebody in costume. And so I studied his voice, I studied how he walked, and that was the Mikey I was bringing to the public.
So you continuing to talk about Michelangelo here and continuing to talk about voices, obviously this question's going to come up. It may not be the exact question you think it is, though. So, you watched or you read the Last Ronin, I'm guessing, so you had an idea of that. Just starting out, did you ever have any idea that existed before it came out? Like, did you ever hear a rumor of it from Kevin or Pete or anything?
No. And in fact, when they started finally, dropping hints of this, and they said this is an old story that they're bringing back, my hopes was for them to pick up on another turtle story that did come out in Plastron Cafe, where it is Donatello who's the last turtle. And I was really, really hoping that they'd follow that. And then when I kind of called Kevin out in a panel this last summer about it, I'm like, was that the initial plan? Because in another thing, it's Donatello. He then brings up all the different universes. But when they wrote The Last Ronin's initial plan, there wasn't a bunch of universes. There was the Mirage and the original cartoon stuff that they weren't into.
Yeah.
So it would have been following the Mirage story arc line that they already had. And I wanted to know if it could have been Donnie, and if that Chet issue where we get introduced to his computer. Oh, I want more on that.
Oh, that'd be great.
If that was the initial lead-in for the storyline, but instead he didn't touch on that at all. I don't even know if he remembers doing that one. It was more of a Peter comic anyhow. But I would have loved to have some more in-depth instead of just washing it over. Look at all the different turtle universes. Yeah, that's true. But was the original concept based on this? That's what I want to know.
Well, there's even elements of The Last Ronin, like the last page of the first issue is really reminiscent of Soul's Winter, which, essentially The Last Ronin would have been written before Soul's Winter, Michael Zulli came out. So,
yeah.
And I looked at that panel, I'm like, holy crap, this is like the end of Soul's Winter. And I love Soul's Winter.
I got a feeling they like throwing in
cut, guys. For everyone listening who's not a fan of Mirage Comics, like, what is it, like issue 28, 29, 31? It's a deep cut. I know. So I'm just.
Not many people recognize Michael Zulli's Turtles either. I actually have an original Michael Zulli next to me. In this book I carry around with me at conventions.
Oh, boy.
And he drew this for me. And when I walked up and asked him for a turtle sketch, his line to me was, "You wouldn't recognize my turtles if I did draw one for you." And I tossed down his 3 comic books and said, "Can you sign these while you're at it?" And he goes,
"Oh my
"You
God,
do know my turtles." So I got this drawing here. Let me try of Leo.
Yeah, guys, that's really stylish. And I mean, that's the thing. All the turtles were like samurai. They all had a samurai sword or a katana, whatever the blade was. I mean, the crux of the story, guys, was that Michelangelo gets his hand cut off in a battle with the foot, and they're trying to figure out how to save his life, and he's going through like a fever dream. And then by the end of the story, there's a whole thing that happens with the Shredder.
Oh,
it's insane, and I highly recommend it. It's on Comixology, so you can go and get it. You can get the issues, but they're actually a little pricey. But Comixology, you can get the whole collection of the story for like $7.99. So,
And they also have a lot of the big, thick reprints that they've been doing with IDW, trying to get more and more of the Mirage stuff out there.
I think
but I'm
there's
not.
an issue with the licensing on this one because there was some sort of legal battle about it, though.
Oh,
So
I
I don't know
haven't
if they're going to reprint it.
flipped through to see which ones made it into those, but I do own a lot of those.
That's cool.
But
Well, anyway,
Was that what I thought it was that was on top of your book that you had on top? Was that
yeah,
what I thought it was?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
right here, I bring with me to most events, and
Yep.
it goes with me on every trip. It is a #1 first printing, autographed by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird.
Weird.
woo!
Okay.
And
So
I hand it to people and say, flip through this, and they freak out normally, like, I don't want to touch it. And I'm like,
That's
that's
what he
what this
said.
one.
okay. So here's the whole thing is like me and you had a little I have a little story about me and you, and my son too. And I remember, my son, he was there holding it, and we took a picture, and like he has an idea of what he's holding. He says it was a rare book, and I asked him because he was like, "You're talking to Michele Ivey?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm talking to Michele Ivey today." And I was like, "Do you remember her?" And he was like, "Yeah." He was like, "She had that rare book." And I was like, "Which one?" He said, "The first printing," because I got a second printing back there in my little stuff of turtle stuff.
On the pizza shelves.
But there was one question that I asked her, and I think a lot of people should know. And me personally, I think you should have a personal bodyguard anytime you go to a convention.
She
Is
knows ninjutsu, dude.
I asked her, and I asked her this, and I'm like, "Why don't you get that CGC?" And your answer was,
No, I won't do that. Everyone else is doing that with the ones that are out there, and they just go into this frame and they never get touched. Back in the 90s, I went to a panel with Kevin Eastman and a bunch of girls from Friends of Lulu. And they were up there talking, and one of the biggest pet peeves they have is people coming up with their books in these mint pristine conditions, sliding them out of the plastic, put them down, get the autograph, and then it goes right back into that plastic to never be touched again. That means that book's not going to ever get the love that it was originally made to get. And at this time, we already had a #1 first printing that's treated just like that. It's not been out of its packaging since it got signed in 1992. So when I got this one, I told myself, I'm going to listen to what Kevin Eastman actually said at this panel that I went to. It was either 1996 or 97. I heard this from Kevin. And I'm like, I'm going to listen to him about this, and I'm going to actually bring this one out and let people hold and flip through and actually see what the original comic was like instead of framing it and locking it away and caring what the value is. If you put value on everything, are you really appreciating what it was actually made for?
Damn.
and that hits pretty hard. I mean, it's like, me personally, I have a lot of turtle stuff, which I'll end up showing you. Like, I have a bunch of turtle stuff. Like I said, I have, what is it, 40 some games of turtles, and I don't necessarily put a value on them at all. I like it. It's something that I collect. My wife, she's always been a big supporter for me, of collecting stuff. I mean,
Yes, I love
this
it.
see, in Ohio we had two plates, and this is actually on one of them is on the back of my car, and then I got this one right here because we don't need the front plate. So now I have this. That's my plate forever. And but it's like, I'm not the type of person, like, I usually, most of the time, I give stuff away. You know, it's one of those things where, I give fans, like, Mike Ruth is a prime example. Like, I have a bunch of his art over this area here, and some people are like big fans of his art, of his turtle work, and I'm like, look, if you want something, I'll be more than happy to give it to you. I'm not trying to sell it. I'm not trying to make any money off of something that he did that he just gave to me.
Yeah,
And and it's just like, I want to give it to true fans that actually want it, and that's going to enjoy it, not just, well, I'm going to take this and then I'm going to end up flipping it for $50 that somebody
Oh
that just
yeah.
gave to me.
Exactly.
And I that's not how I like. I don't want to be. I mean, unless I'm in dire need, you
right.
know and which is understandable, but in the same sense, it's like, I collect, like you see, like, if you look over here, Like those those boxes over there are just comics. Just
For
comics.
anyone who's listening, there's 2 big boxes on a turtle shell wall that Eric's pointing to. So
Yeah.
because this will eventually be an audio program as well. So
But it's just one of those things. It's like, like I got the box of I got the cereal today of the Mutants Madness.
I've been
Mutant,
seeing pictures. I think you were the one who showed me the picture earlier.
yeah. I
And I'm like,
sent you a message.
what store?
I went to Walmart. And
Walmart. Okay.
Because
Now I know where to look.
And yeah, I'm not a big fan of flippers either.
yeah, I agree with you.
And this Facebook user, can we acknowledge that real fast?
Yeah.
Matthew
Big
Wilder.
fan of flippers. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I understand that. I'm like going, fans are not all about the size of the collection is what I wanted to say, but I just read what they actually said now.
Yeah, it's that's the whole thing is like I got the cereal. Like, yes, there is a cereal. Hang on, let me go get it. I can show you guys.
Yeah, I saw it, and it has little Ninja Turtle colored marshmallows on it, which look amazing. And I just want to go on record just saying I am so excited for Mutant Mayhem. I think it's going to be amazing.
I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Good. There's no way. And then after seeing the trailer that came out yesterday, I mean,
for all the viewers,
a way deeper story than we thought.
I've been excited, and last year at San Diego Comic-Con, I was standing near the NECA booth talking to some Turtle fans, and this guy came up and was like, I got it. You're Michele Ivey. I got to introduce myself to you. And he introduced himself, and he's actually the script coordinator for Mutant Mayhem.
Wow.
So I got to talk to somebody. He's like, I can't give spoilers, but I think you're really going to like where we're going with this movie because we're doing something for the new and we're doing something for the original fans with it. So hopefully it's something that you're going to enjoy. So I'm meeting up again with him at San Diego. We've stayed in touch all this time, and I cannot wait to see him and catch up. I'm hoping to be in California when the movie drops.
Awesome. In August. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I would love to get to just like pick their brain or anything and be like, hey, you guys, if you want to do any research, just listen to our podcast. Be like, you want to hear about the IDW series? Just listen to the show. Yeah.
Just warning, they actually do. And sometimes I don't even realize how many people listen to our stuff that's out there. Because like my Facebook Lives, okay, the YouTube stuff I could picture people watching. In fact, I had one animator at Nickelodeon thank me because he blames me for helping get his job because he watched Cowabunga Corner for all of his research for getting the job. But then during Rise, I got to visit Nickelodeon, and I walk around the corner, and I'm being introduced to the prop designer. And he looks up at me, and he smiles, and he goes, so, Michele, you don't like our Splinter, huh? And I'm like, wait, how do you know that? He goes, I watch your Facebook Lives. So, you never know who's watching or who's listening from the industry. They are paying attention to the fans.
That is one of those things I wanted to ask you about too. Like, do you and I mean, I kind of am guessing that you're not afraid to tell the truth about what you like or dislike, but do you ever have those issues where you feel weird about it because you know some of these people? Like we were just talking about Michelangelo's. It's like I know in the past I've heard you say it's like, well, Sips doesn't have the same vibe that you like, so you have your top 3. But like, do you feel weird about that? Like you don't like Splinter. I know some people don't like Rise. Some people don't like Next Mutation. Like,
well, Eric Baza knows I like him. So even though I don't like Splinter, I love him as Leonardo in Batman versus TMNT. I love him as Hun and Tiger Claw in the 2012 series. And me and Eric have been in contact for years. So, but there are times where it's a little hard. Like I don't give names of people I don't like normally unless people can guess it. Okay. And there is one actor in the industry I want nothing to do with. And I've been at conventions where I'm working the con as a guest. And I'm told, you're going to be hosting this panel. And by the way, this actor's coming to your panel. And I'm standing there going, holy crap, I have issues with him. But I'm going to be professional about it. If he shows up to the panel, I'll treat him just like I treat all the other guests. We had 2 Ninja Turtle panels this weekend, and this is one of the reasons I can't respect this guy, because the con chair is the one running up to me. He's going to be there. He's going to be there. And he skipped both Ninja Turtle panels. But he also treated the other actors and Jim Lawson like dirt. So, yeah. I don't have respect for that guy, but I won't name him because I'm not out there to spread gossip. I'll share the tale, but I won't share the gossip. Hi.
And just shout out because we've talked about this before with some people. From everything that we've ever heard, Jim Lawson is like the nicest human being ever.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
I mean, if somebody would disrespect him, I mean, it's like that's not cool. So
Jim Lawson and Dan Berger and Molly Bodie were my first 3 real friends at Mirage Studios. When I'd go to Mirage Studios, I'd be going up to Dan's and Jim's office and just hanging out. I'd hang out with Molly outside the studio even. They are all amazing people. Mirage Studios was this handful of people. There wasn't that many people in the studio. There was Gary Richardson, Dan Berger, Molly Bodie, Jim Lawson, and Michael Dooney were the original group that I would see there by the time I started going in 1993. You wouldn't see too many of the others. Oh, Katie McGinnis would also be there. But then as I went later, we started seeing more of Eric Tubbo, Steve Levine, and Steve Murphy. So I started to get to know the 3 of them as well. But the first group I really got to know over the years.
that's great. Do you ever go back and like do you think about like who was like that artist or something that really spoke to you? Or because again, I don't know if you can truly have a favorite and all that, and you've got that huge book full of things. Do you have someone that's like that's my guy? Because I definitely do, and I'm interested to hear who yours might be.
I have 2. I'll go with the Archie comic series. It would be going to Chris Allen.
Chris
He
Allen,
is one of my all-time favorites for the Archie comics. And of course, I loved it when he would work with Peter Laird. Oh my goodness, those covers are beautiful.
Yeah.
But for most overall things, and I'm talking art-wise mainly, it's Michael Dooney.
Yay! I got a Dooney piece up right behind me. I'm with you.
I got a couple in that book.
That is,
and I have Chris Allen in there too.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, it's like between like in just like for Mirage artists, the 2 that really just like changed my mind about everything were Michael Dooney and AC Farley. Like when I saw those 2 comics, just like it just blew my mind. I'm like, holy crap, comics can look like this.
I mean,
yeah, you got the
TMNT
Exactly. And I have like all these prints of his. When I go to conventions, he usually has his con prints, and he's one of the ones I try to get the con prints to where I now have more Ben Bishops, because right after a settlement with workers' comp, I was able to buy like this huge stack of Ben Bishops, but I have a ton of Michael Dooney prints as well, all signed by him at the different cons.
We're aware of Ben Bishop's work.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny you say that, Michelle, because Ben Bishop, we're in the Bish Kids Club, right? It's he's got a Discord and all that. Very soon, we're gonna be giving away one of his boxes. So we're gonna be giving away the Bish Kids box for this quarter to a lucky listener. So guys, as soon as I get it in, I'll post about it. So it's gonna be
I don't have one of those.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and we're just getting something here. Ben is so freaking talented. Absolutely. Ben Bishop, to me, has gone from like my list of all turtle artists to top 5 all time. It is ridiculous. The line work, everything.
Have you guys had the chance to meet him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And that's the whole thing is like, I told you about my workman's comp stuff and all that stuff too as well. And I was kind of going through a lot of stuff, and I ended up being part of the Ben Bishop Kids Club. And
highly recommend, by the way, if anyone's going to join.
Absolutely. And
when I start making money,
I want him to make money and then make more turtles.
Yeah. I used to be his #1 recruiter. I'm not going to lie. Emily can vouch for me on that one. But no, whenever I first got there, I was like 156, 159 or something like that is whenever I got in there. And, Ben, I mean, I'm not getting into all the details, but Ben wrote me like some personal messages about his life and stuff which would be kept between me and him, of course.
Right, of course.
But it's just like,
hey, Jamie.
Hey, Jamie. But like for him to kind of like tell me his life. I mean, he's like whenever I met him at Lexington, he was like, this is the first guy I actually like really, really opened up to and told him, about some of the stuff that I've been through, and I was like, I felt honored, that he did that to me. He really, really opened up to me about, some of the struggles that I was going through is, as well as what he went through. And, dude is amazing, super, super nice guy. Like
brilliant marketing mind on him. Absolutely.
He truly is. And
I mean,
and
he's
I'll never,
garbage. What the hell?
yeah, he's a murderer too. But I remember, okay, never met Ben. I was standing in Kevin Eastman's line. And I was like, hey, there's Ben. And Ben was like, I know you. What's up, Eric? Then I'd never met him. But the first time I did meet him, that was our interaction. He was like, I know you. I know this. This
you had
right
a Michele Ivey moment.
Yeah.
When that started happening to me, that was very weird.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to lie to you. Which I thought was kind of odd too, is like whenever I went up to the line, and my wife can vouch for me, and I'll bring her over here if I need to, is that whenever I went up there and Courtney was sitting down, and of course, Courtney, she's the Kevin will sit there and talk to people for hours if he wanted to, but Courtney keeps him moving.
Yep.
And Courtney was like, I know you. That's what her exact words were. And she was like, I know you. And I'm like, I kind of like froze. I'm like, oh shit, what am I supposed to do here? And I was like, we kind of went through the whole thing and stuff and all that. Yes, Travis, he did do a remark on what was it, the last Ronin? Yeah, the Sin City, not metal, but the regular one on a CGC.
Birthday shout out for Travis Doss, by the way. Had his birthday a couple days ago. Happy birthday there.
Happy birthday, Travis! Cowabunga!
And shout out to JB Johnson. Hope we can get you on the show soon. Great art's doing a full month of Turtles. So.
Mm-hmm. But to sit there and have Courtney, like she knew who I was, and I'm like Ben knew who I was, and all this other stuff, and I was like, I was in complete shock. And then getting to meet you there too, I was like, I get to meet all kinds of people here at Lexington, and then I got to meet you down there in Columbus. I'm just as much as a fan of the Turtles, of everybody else as I am of you. I talk about you a lot. I'm like, we need to get. I've been saying this. We've been saying this for a while. Me and him have been saying this, that we've been needing to get you on here for a long time.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it is, but I understand with the scheduling and you going to cons. I mean, you going to cons is kind of one of those things that like you're part of the con.
It's very hard because I don't have the funds, so it's usually like either I'm sponsored to get in or I'm actually working the con. Like when I do Motor City Comic Con, I'm volunteering for 2 different booths on setup and takedown.
They allow you to a press pass? Like, is that an option for you?
When I had the Cowabunga Corner website going full stream, I actually even got press from New York one year. But if the website and stuff is not going full stream, which right now it's not because I'm going through a lot of difficulties, then no, I can't even apply for it because they check your numbers and my site's down.
Oh, maybe we can help with that.
Hopefully,
because we can't travel, but that's awesome. A lot of people comment here. Looks like Travis is saying happy birthday, thank you. I guess you guys met Michele with Travis.
Yes, me. We
Travis
were
at C2E2, and
Travis was with us. Me and Travis were pretty much together at the con at Lexington. Him and his boy, along with my wife and our boy.
We talked for a little bit over at the Kevin Eastman booth at that point. Mm-hmm. That's when Travis got introduced to me, I believe.
Yeah,
because that's when we were like, "This is my friend."
Because we met at the toy booth because I think he was doing something, and then we end up meeting up together because we actually took Travis and his son out to a barbecue place after we left the con.
Ooh.
So yeah, the next time
barbecue pizza.
No, it wasn't barbecue pizza. They didn't have that, but it
All
was
right.
called a Red State Barbecue place.
Oh, the one that you
Now,
told Francois Chow about.
Yes,
I forget, Eric, are you in Kentucky or Ohio? Where are you?
Ohio.
Ohio, okay.
Yeah. Well, see, we go. Well, of course, we went down to Lexington, Kentucky for that, but we go down to Tennessee and all that stuff too, for family and all that. So, but we pretty much go to the barbecue place like every time that we go down to Tennessee. So it's kind of one of those things you have to.
You got
Yes.
to know your areas where you go. I got favorite restaurants here in Kentucky. I got favorite restaurants in Gettysburg, LA, New York. There's good places out there.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking about your con appearance where you guys met each other, Eric says to me that you pull out this ooze canister from Secret of the Ooze. What kind of
Columbus.
movie? Columbus. Okay. What kind
Yep.
of
Yeah,
movie
Columbus.
mementos and things like that? Mementos from maybe Next Mutation or anything like that. What kind of stuff do you have in your personal collection that you can talk about?
Well, from the Next Mutation, I have about 20 actual used scripts that was given to me while I was on the set.
What?
And I also have like a comic book cover that was wrinkled up in the subway layer and a little tea candle that looks like any generic tea candle that came from the subway layer. I
Nice.
also have my set visitor badges. We had 2 of them that was given to us that we got to keep. And those aren't supposed to be given, but we asked, like, can I keep this? And they said, yeah.
Cool.
Of course, we got all the photos and videos. That's about it from the Next Mutation. I don't have any of like the costume pieces or anything. For Turtles 1, I have a copy of Judith Hoag's script with all of her handwritten notes that she gave me.
Nice.
And I have blueprints, 5 blueprints from the first Turtle movie, one of which is kind of a joke because it's on the full legit blueprint paper from the same person who did the other 4. But it's just one straight line and the word wall is written and pointing at it. But the other 4 are really nice. We got 2 sewer ones and 2 rooftop ones where Raph had his fight scene. We have the one looking down onward onto the roof, and then we have a side view. And this one of the sewer ones is framed and usually up, like if I'm doing a TV show like Netflix, I had it up, but they didn't even use that wall. I'm like, we got some really good stuff on this other wall, but they like the cereal stuff up behind me instead. But when it comes to Turtles 2, I have TGI jumpsuit, Michelangelo's combat cold cuts. I have one of the sets that was screen used. And I usually bring those to cons too. In fact, I bring that more than the ooze canister. The only reason the ooze canister was in Columbus was Kevin Clash. But
hey, he owes us a bumper, by the way. We'll have to remind him that.
And then my all-time favorite in my entire collection prop is from Turtles 2, which was given to me by Kurt Bryant, which is Toka's hand. And so I have an actual Henson's Creature Shop prop. Wow. And then my script from Turtles 2 is up there also as an all-time favorite. It is Ernie Reyes Jr.'s personal script with all of his pencil notes. It's got their shooting schedules with locations and everything. It's got the phone numbers for everyone working on the movie. And then it's got the entire script where he would write in his choreographing inside the script. And he gave that to me in 2009. Then for Turtles 3, I have Raphael's samurai mask, a pair of stunt Mikey arms, and I have the 2 animatronic heads everybody knows about.
How have they been holding up? Like, is the latex on it, the foam and all that? How does it hold up? Do you have to do anything to it?
The best way to keep it from deteriorating, which you can't prevent forever, and it's proving as much as I try to take care of these guys, is spraying Armor All to try and keep it from drying out. And baby powder, which actually discolors it. My arms, I was using baby powder first because that's what the prop master told me when I got the arms. And then I was taught about Armor All when I was getting the Leonardo head, and I'll try spraying it. But you can see through both Mikey and Leo's jaws down here on the bottom where the hands touch it the most, picking them up. And Leonardo has a hole because he has this metal piece that goes up like this right here to control his beak. And that is starting to stick through the top of his nose.
Absolute nightmare fuel.
Yeah, it's zombie turtles, but not as bad as some of those other ones out there. And everyone's like, why don't you get them fixed? And my response is, I will, under one location. If I can get the original molds, I will recast the skins of the turtle heads and dragon skin to the original molds only. And then it would be kind of like the movie, because if you think about it, anytime those skins got nixed through the movie, they ripped the skins right off the head and put a new skin on there. That's how the heads were taken care of. So the skins that I have were only used the last time those heads filmed. These are not used all the way through the movie, and it's 2 turtle heads, so you don't even know half the time which head did which scenes. I do know some stories about my Leonardo head because I met his puppeteer, Jim Martin, and he knew the numbers inside the head, and he had a few behind-the-scenes stories for my head for me, and those are on Cowabunga Corner. They're fun stuff.
We talked to Ken Scott last year, and I mean, he had some awesome, like, eye-opening stories that we read in his book, and I actually got the book because of your recommendation. And then having him on and all that, I'm like, oh my God, he got me to watch Showdown. I'm like, dude, I liked it. And it was like, I'm like, this is so cheesy and all that, but I ate it up. You know, I'm like, this is great.
Have you heard the Audible yet where he's actually reading the book?
No, that would be fantastic.
That's out there. You got to get into the Audible. For anyone who's watching this that don't know, the book is called Teenage Ninja to Mutant Turtle by Ken Scott. It's about how he became a foot soldier, then Raphael Stunt for the first movie, and Raph's main costume actor for Turtles 2. It goes all the way through both movies. It is the best, and I mean absolute best behind the scenes on the original movies that you can get.
Yeah, Ken's
Hello,
awesome.
Tucker, eh?
Yeah.
I can also say there's a few good magazines, like Black Belt Magazine did a Ninja Turtle issue back in 1991, where it's got some of the best behind-the-scene pictures of the costumes and a couple interviews with the guys. And it's an entire issue on Ninja Turtles. But for a full-on story of both movies, Ken's book.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he's actually going to come out with a sequel, which is really cool that there's more there. So, you know, and that's pretty interesting to me. Oh my goodness, man, we're going some good places here. I like this. For the record too, I am a big Secret of the Ooze fan, and the whole reason is honestly because of Ernie Reyes Jr. Huge Ernie Reyes Jr. fan. Could not be more excited that there's a figure coming out, but it's a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, so it's going to be tough for, you know, some of us to get. So, you know, I don't know. We'll see what happens with that.
Can't wait. I'm going to Sandy. At least I'm planning to. We're still trying to figure out which way we're getting in this year, but I'm planning to be there.
We mentioned that you're writing some books here, and I wanted to get to this because I think it's important that folks know kind of what creatively you're into, and that it's like you are more than just turtles. Like we were talking about The Shining a little bit, you know, and some of the other stuff you're into. Can you talk about your book series that's coming out and just what you're going to do?
Oh, yes, definitely. My characters, they're called the Shapers. I have it copyrighted now, so I can talk. But I created them back in 1991 through a personal role play with local friends and family. And it was just kind of goofing off because I wanted some other characters beside the Turtles. And they had the one, if I could pick one superpower ability I'd like, it would be shapeshifting. And so originally I was just using them for that, but that same year, a science teacher was like, I want you guys to do a report, but we're not doing it like a report. I want you to write a story, but you got to put all this information in there like you would with a report. And you're to be visiting another planet. So I used the Shapers, and it was the first time in my life that I ever got an A on a science paper. Wow. And so they came up like, well, we're going to do this other report. And I went up to the teacher after class and I said, I have a question. Can I write a story again and put everything in there and just fluff it up a little bit with extra pages so I'm still getting the right amount of information in there for the report? And she goes, yeah. I did that all the way through my senior year of high school with these same characters.
Wow, you found a way to make it work for yourself.
Right. Every time I got an A on it. And I'm like, I love this. And then in 1996, fan fiction was starting to hit the internet for Ninja Turtles, and someone asked me if I would do one. I tried doing one in 95, but my computer crashed and I lost that one. And then in 1996, I decided to write one that included the Shapers. And so I wrote a story called The Shape of a Turtle. That might still be out there somewhere on the internet. It was on cowabungacorner.com before my website went down, where my characters meet the Ninja Turtles. And this was very early version of my characters, because at that point I got into an online role play. And my villains got so much more developed, so much more depth. And I got all these friends who are now fans of the characters coming, when are you doing a book? And I am like, I don't know. I never thought about writing a book. I'm dyslexic. I can't read books. I can't even read Oliver Twist or It, which are two books I really want to read. And they're like, no, if you write the book, I will edit the book. So Phoenix, the editor of Cowabunga Corner, is the editor of this book. And this is actually the third time I've started over on the book. But this time I've been working on the book for 7 years with this one, and it finally fits. The first two times, one, I introduced the villains way too fast and why they are the villains. Two, I left Earth in the first book, and I'm like, I can't do that either. The story takes place mostly on Earth. And then I was watching Back to the Future commentary on a DVD, and they were talking about doing the script, and they're like, we did a timeline before we wrote the scripts for the 3 movies. And I'm like, oh, I could do that. So I wrote a timeline, and my first timeline was how to introduce my villains. And, well, at least one set of the villains. There's people still above that set of villains.
Oh, wow.
So
it's like a hierarchy? It sounds like a cosmic Marvel right now. You know?
It's so much fun because the world is, the planet that they're from is fully developed. It's from long before Earth even existed, is their home planet. And they have an important part of balance of time and space, and these shapeshifters are in war with different races. There are 2 different races on the planet. There's the Xavians and the Raurokus. And the Raurokus are the evil ones. And they destroyed the good half of their planet. And the 5 that escaped were royal Xavians, children, all of them children, besides for one teenager in the group. And when they crashed on Earth, the teenagers killed by a human. So these 4 children, who are not even 5 in their age, grow up on Earth. And it took 10 years before the villains completely find them on Earth. And the story picks up in present time, but we got 70 years of history of them on Earth that we can flash back to.
Oh, that's cool.
So then we're following 4 brothers. One of them is a half-brother. And they have several different identities, which I'm hearing is the most confusing part of my book, because the first book, each of the main characters has 3 different names they go by. So there's that problem. But in the first book, it's the introduction of mainly the good guys and a couple of the human villains, and one of the Raurokus that is not a main Rauroku at all. But they name 2 of the Raurokus throughout the book. They keep bringing these other 2 up. In book 2, you meet those 2. But we build up. By time book 6 is finished, you hate these villains, and then book 7 will be told by the point of view of the villains.
How many pages for each volume?
Right now we do word counts more than pages, but I'd say it's almost 200 pages for book 1.
Nice.
And we're looking at only 5,500 words. So they're short novels, but we're hoping after book 1 and 2 is published to do a hard copy version of the 2 books blended.
Are you going to do an audio book for your
every
fellow...
book?
Okay, every book. Do you have anyone planned to do that? I was thinking it was going to be you, but I wanted to ask because you know everybody. So
I actually have plans to do an audiobook with my voice doing it, because I have a lot of role players saying we can't picture anyone else doing your characters' voices. But I would love to do an audiobook with celebrity voices, because I do have a lot of friends that I'd like to support in the industry. So we're hoping to do a Kickstarter and find out some prices. If the main goal of the Kickstarter will be for one voice actor on it.
Nice.
But we'll have a stretch goal for a cast. So the stretch goal, which will be a lot harder to meet, and I'm hoping to get some guests who will do like hardcover Kickstarter only books. And there is a Kickstarter book that is filled with spoilers for these characters. One of the main characters in in the books is a scientist, and he works for the villains. His name is Matt Wolf, and he was cursed at a young age he can't age past 21.
Oh.
So he's over 70 years old, but he don't look it. And in the back of the first 7 books, there's 10 pages, which are all notes directly from Professor Matt's personal notebooks that was never meant to be published in his eyes. And they're scientific notes about the Shaper race, about the differences between the Zabians and the Raurokus, about their home planet, about how he's a slave, how he was cursed, how his friend was cursed even worse than he was. And these notes, which make 70 notes all in all, will be in their own book with the Kickstarter for one of the higher tiers of the Kickstarter prizes. And you can get that, and it will have 2 extra notes that won't be in the actual books themselves. And it's got a little bit of a teaser for book 2 in the back of it.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I did a Kickstarter maybe a year and a half ago for a fan film called Casey Jones Livewire. I don't know if you saw that. It was a Casey Jones story. It's on YouTube. You can check it out. But they're doing awesome stuff now with Kickstarter, and I mean, we will definitely get the word out there for when you get your stuff going, because that's awesome.
Just let us know.
Couple things coming in. A comment. Someone who knows this. It has to be you. Your Jay would be perfect. Someone saying that to you, Michelle.
My Jay?
Yeah. So, do you have a character named Jay?
I have a Jason.
Okay, your Jason would be perfect. So they're just doing that.
Okay.
Eric, they want you to scratch the cat's belly, which I think you already did. And the guy did Comixology for Amazon is heading to Kickstarter comic release now. So I don't know if that means that Kickstarter is now releasing on Comixology. I don't know if that's what it means. If you want to clarify in the comments there, but yeah, Comixology is owned by Amazon, so that does kind of track.
I did a Kickstarter in 2012, I think, for season 5 of Cowabunga Corner, and it was a successful Kickstarter.
Right.
People got covers from Kevin Eastman. He did some hand-drawn covers that we were able to give out. We had the 2012 San Diego Ninja Turtle toys that we were giving out. Things like that. So it was a pretty fun Kickstarter we did.
Is that the 4-pack of NECAs that came in the Chris Allen box? Oh, I've been so jealous. Damn.
No, these are the individual Playmates toys with a better paint job, which I don't even have. But I had them in my hand. I had all of them in my hands, but they were given to me to put on Kickstarter, and so I did exactly what I was told.
Sometimes it's just cool to let that stuff pass through you. You know, that's really fun. We had a gentleman on 2 months ago who was doing the commemorative sewer cover for was it Dover, New Hampshire, Eric? Right? For the place of the Ninja Turtles. So he's doing that. He's on Indiegogo. He's got some great stuff on there from Steve Levine. You know, and yeah, have a good day. I can't see who you are, but yeah, Turtle Power.
It was John.
John.
The guy that did Comixology for Amazon is heading to Kickstarter's comic releases now. So the guy that did the Comixology that was in head was the main guy is going to Kickstarter now.
Oh, okay. So like the CEO is moving. Okay, good. You know, well, I mean, crowdfunding is a huge thing, and I think that's a cool thing because we've seen a lot of Ninja Turtle content on there. Like we had artist Chris Vance on, who got his cover on there in the Jim Lawson Dragonfly book because his buddy bought the IP. You know,
the IDW games.
The IDW game, the big collection with all that, those incredibly hard to play games. Yeah, you're right.
I need a setup where I can just leave them set up so I can keep coming back to it and actually play the game. When I saw what it was, I'm like, how do I even play that? I've never played it, but I have it. I did get the Kickstarter version too.
Oh, with like the giant slash on it and all that. Yeah, and you got to play it like Kramer playing Risk with Ukraine and all that.
See, my son is wanting to play this right here. He's wanting to play this.
Oh well, that looks a little easier than that IDW game.
Yeah, but I know, but I'm just saying he's wanting to play this now. You know, we just got this, and he's like, we got to get the marshmallows out so we can use this and play this. So talking about games, and I'm just like, all right.
I wanna go back to something that we were talking about because we were talking about some of your other fandoms. Are you a big Lord of the Rings fan? Because I'm kind of getting that J.R.R. Tolkien vibe from what you're talking about with your book and like the appendices and all that. Is that a thing?
I watched the movie. I've never actually read the books, but a friend of mine has pointed out that stuff to the books. I guess the reason we got all this stuff for the backgrounds of the books is because of how much is in the role play that will never make it into the book series, and this will help fill in some of the
Ah,
gaps.
okay, all right. Well, what about some other fandoms that you have? Like, I'm guessing that Stephen King is one of them, but I could be
More
wrong.
recently, but my friends know I can't read that well. I've always had this problem. I'm dyslexic. In fifth grade, I was a first grade reader. All the way through high school, I failed every single reading test. I'm doing so much better. Phoenix is actually the best inspiration I've ever had with reading. She's helped me learn how to edit my own stuff. She's helped me put Cowabunga Corner together, do the video editing, and she's now the editor of the book. And she's helped me a lot, but she learned that there are several books that I've dreamt of actually reading. And two of those top books is Oliver Twist. The musical was one of my favorites since my childhood. My sister and brother were in it in our high school when they were
I
still in
played Oliver
elementary.
in ours.
And Davy Jones of the Monkees played Dodger in it, and that's how he got to the United States. There's so many different things with Oliver that connects to my life that I always wanted to read the book. And I couldn't. I could not even get past the first chapter. And then Stephen King's It. I wanted to read it, but that book was so baffling to me. And friends are going, wait, you want to actually hear the books? Because there's Audible. And then all of a sudden they're loading me up. First Audible I got was because I got an Alexa device. And it's like, I thought, what happens if I ask it to read a book? And it's like, well, you can get one free book. And then after that, you'd have to sign up for Audible to get more. And I'm like, Oliver Twist. And so I listened to that book over and over for an entire year. I could talk about that story way more than I ever thought I could. I'd go to sleep with that playing in the background because I like background noise. And then another friend heard that I was doing this, and so she sent me points to get more books. And then Phoenix heard, and she's like, you need to get these books. And just recently, I listened to The Shining, and then I listened to Dr. Sleep.
Nice.
And so I'm on the Stephen King kick, and I'm finally actually I've got about 29 hours left of it. Out of
wow.
A 45-hour book. There's 29 hours left in the book right now. I've listened to about 15 hours. I'm like, yes!
I just got into Stephen King myself this past year, and I know everyone's like, "Oh my God, you didn't get into him in high school and stuff like that." I had other stuff going on. I was reading Turtles comics. I'm sorry, guys. So I read Misery. I had read The Dark Half like a long time ago, and I just read Richard Bachman's The Long Walk. So and it's one of those things where it's like, oh my God, this is literally about people walking and stuff. So it's like it's interesting, but there is very much that sort of thing where you can see where it's like he kind of peters out towards the end of some of these things. The Long Walk was definitely that for me. Like it was about the journey of the book and what made sense until you get to the ending and you're like, oh, that could have ended better. But you know.
Well, I will say with The Shining and with Dr. Sleep, so much better than the movies. I love the original Shining 1980 movie with Jack Nicholson because that's what I grew up with. I loved, which is why I wanted to read these books. I love Stephen King, the movies based off of his books. I grew up in a horror family. My dad was a art director for a horror host show in the 70s and 80s that aired in Ohio and Michigan called The Ghoul Show. So I grew up in the horror genre. I was going to horror and sci-fi cons as a kid. And to finally read the books or hear the books, I'm sitting now going, that's where it was going? That's what it should have been? Like for The Shining, the biggest example of the difference between the two books. One, I hate the maze now because I know what The Shining had. Instead of the hedge maze, there was these hedge animals. There was a rabbit, a dog, and 2 lions that would move and chase them. And these things were out to try and kill them. And I would have loved to have seen that in the movie. But the biggest
they didn't have
difference,
that in the Stephen
I need to watch that
version. Okay.
I need to watch the 1997 version.
Okay.
I haven't found a freebie yet on it. But
Rebecca De Mornay, yeah.
My biggest problem between the two now is in the book, you find out just how much Danny and his father, Danny and Jack, loved each other. there was this huge connection between the two, to where the mother was slightly jealous on how much Danny loved his dad, how much he put his dad on his pedestal. And there was all these scenes where it was between Danny and Jack. And at the end of the book, when Jack is going crazy, you find out it's the hotel, not Jack. And Danny breaks through to Jack. And Danny's like, I can't leave you, Daddy. I can't leave you. And Jack turns around and takes himself out so Danny will leave him.
Oh, wow.
So there's a huge difference. And at the end of Dr. Sleep, he gets to wave goodbye to his father. And instead, in the movie, the scene between him and his father is really disgusting. And then they end Dr. Sleep, the movie, more like the original Shining book ended. Instead of Jack being down by the boiler, it's Danny. And I hated that. I'm like, no, you should have went with the actual ending of Dr. Sleep, because that was really good.
I do like that movie. I admit I have not read either of those books, but I'm like culturally aware, and I do like both movies, but definitely from what I've seen too about like the Shining book way outshines the Kubrick film. Yeah.
I'm going to say, because I saw Dr. Sleep in theaters years when it came out with my sister, and I walked out just knowing the movie felt extremely boring to me, and I just
well, it's 3.5 hours long.
Didn't remember it at all, to the point where I'm like going, I know I saw the movie. I remember her saying we're seeing the sequel of The Shining, but I don't remember it. So when I listened to the book, the entire story was new to me. I hated the movie so much, I gave it half a star on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, and that must have been the one you're beefing on today. Okay.
Yeah,
right.
That's the one I attacked today, because oh my goodness, they chop through the beginning to where you don't get to connect with any of the characters. They don't introduce some of the main characters, and then they kill several key characters who live through the book.
Yeah, wow.
And so I'm like, and you don't get connected to the characters. Like Abra and Danny's connection goes all the way back when she was only 2 years old.
Oh, gee, wow.
And he didn't meet her till she was 13. And but he was inside one of his AA meetings and scribbling Abra's name in his AA book.
Huh.
And
Eric, have you seen Dr. Sleep?
No, I have not. I've seen quite a few of Stephen King's movies. I know a lot of my family has read a lot of his books, but no, I haven't seen those.
I recommend the Audible if you're not into reading the books, because the Audibles are pretty good. But the person who does The Shining is a little monotone, so it was a little hard to go through. How can you read The Shining in a monotone voice? I don't know, but this guy did it. But it is being read by, I think his name's Steven Weber, and he's one of the actors from Wings.
And he is the one who played Jack Torrance in that 97 version of The Shining. So.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I want to watch that so bad. I've been scanning the internet for any of the channels to have it.
Yeah. I don't know.
I
feel like that's something a library would have. You know, it's all that.
Maybe. I've never tried. I haven't been to a library since the 90s.
I love that you're talking about people who have a learning disability and they can't read something like dyslexia and all that, because that was one of the reasons that I kind of wanted to do what we do when we do the comic book reading, because I'll read it out and act it out like an audiobook, and I wanted to do it because then it's like Eric can sit not I'm just using you as an example here, Eric, but like Eric can sit down with his son and they can listen to the Ninja Turtle Adventures, like these 3 books together. And it's like, all right, cool. You know, they didn't have to read anything. What if you can't get a hold of the Donatello Leatherhead book? You know, so we'll tell you the whole story so you can go through. And then if you're really interested in it, you're going to go out and find it and you're going to go out and buy it. You know, and that was one of those things. It's like, what about people who can't see too well, people who can't read, people, you know, all kinds of stuff. And I love that you're all about that.
Cowabunga Corner, I read the first issue. And season 6, which has been recorded, I read the second issue. That's but awesome. We haven't got any editing done on that. And there's even the interviews done. We got Judith Hogue, Cam Clark. I got a bunch of interviews all lined up, including writers from the original cartoon series.
Nice.
But these are sitting on a hard drive, actually only a few feet away from me and not touched.
Is there anyone that you haven't interviewed yet from the Turtleverse that would be your ultimate that you haven't gotten to?
that I haven't gotten to, I'd love to actually sit down with Peter Laird, even though I know him. I've never got him on camera. Jim Lawson and Dan Berger, any of the Mirage guys. But movie wise, I have to go with Elias Cotis.
Oh yeah, I mean, come on. Yeah.
Mhm.
Have you even met him or? No, yeah, he's really enigmatic. He's tough to get a hold of. We shout out to my buddy Pat Rahal, who just worked with him on a film. And he was
Wow!
talking about,
Congratulations, man.
yeah, I mean, I remember him from, he was in Hauntington, Connecticut, and I'm like, that took place in my hometown, so of Southington, Connecticut. So I'm like, oh my god, that's so crazy.
So-
even though they didn't film it there at all.
I got a question for each of you.
Mm.
Do you have favorite actors, and you can go up to like maybe 3? Have you met them? And if so, how?
Favorite
Ninja Turtle actors.
Oh, Ninja Turtle. Oh my god, I almost lost my mind when I met Cam Clark. Like Townsend Coleman, and Cam Clark for me were huge. Rob Paulson and Barry. Like I met them all. Like they're all awesome. But like the voice in my head of Leonardo has always been Cam Clark, and that was the first voice that I ever recognized. I'm like, holy crap, that's him on Robotech. Holy crap, that's him on Lion King. That's Mr. Bogus. That's him in Monster High that my kids watch. So getting to meet him and getting to meet Townsend, and then at a separate time getting my family to meet the original 4 voices of the Turtles, and my daughter who's on the spectrum, my oldest daughter, and she's like, oh my god, you're on Monster High, losing it and just like near tears and all that, and like that interaction is worth more than gold to me. So
And
the original
Cam
Ninja
is
Turtles,
such an amazing soul that reaches out to whatever energy you're giving him.
yeah,
I
he
can
just
just
picked up on
picture.
it.
I can just picture this because Cam is just that good.
And Rob Paulson for my
Yep.
my son, like he loves Donatello. And of course he was the 2012 Donatello and he was the original Raphael, but it's like that's his Donatello, man. And it was just like, this is the greatest day of my friggin' life. So easily that's my answer.
And Eric?
Well, me, I mean, Rob Paulson, I'm a Raphael fan, of course, of the 87 Turtles. I got to meet all of them the same, at Columbus, Splinter, I was really, really shocked to meet Kevin Clash. That was one, I know that's a rarity to see him out and about. You don't see, too much of him.
He's hard.
Yes,
hard.
he is.
I am such a Henson fan, by
I
the way. Like,
would
so I'm just
love-
like, oh my god. Yeah.
I would love to meet Ernie Reyes.
Yes. Oh my
Well,
god.
you guys have heard of Turtle Celebration, right? To
We
where
have.
they're going around and doing all these cons. They got 2 listed right now, but that's only the beginning. They're trying to get others booked.
None in
So-
Chicago. None in. He's not doing Terrificon.
What you do is tell your local conventions about this group and let them reach out to the group and try to get them booked for your local cons.
We'll have to do
It
that.
takes the voice of the fans to also tell conventions what they're looking for.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be a huge one for me too, Eric.
I know that and I know because I follow Ernie Reyes Jr., but I also follow Nick and Nate Diaz. I don't know
Yes.
if you know who they are,
UFC
but
fighters.
obviously Ernie Reyes Jr. is one of the trainers for them. I know that Nate's got a big fight coming up. I'm actually I know people hate them too, but as an MMA fan, I've always liked them just because of how they are. Don't know why. I just get them. But I know that Nate's got a big boxing match coming up with another YouTube star and all this other stuff. And Nick is talking about doing a comeback. And I know Ernie is busy doing that because you see him all the time with them two.
And he's in recovery from kidney surgery, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
come on, man. He's burning the
Yeah, he
candle.
had a what was it, transplant, wasn't
I
it?
believe so, yeah.
Yep, he had complete kidney failure in 2015. Went through dialysis all the way up to finally having his surgery, which I'm glad it's finally done because I saw him shortly after the kidney failure. He showed up at Phantom Fest in Louisville, Kentucky back in 2015. And me and Leif Tilden were right at him. How are you doing, man? Should you even be here? And he was in good spirits and everything. But yeah, Ernie went through that, and he's still out there trying to show that you can't let that kind of stuff hold you down.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing too. Why I want to meet him is just because I know that he's went through some struggles and everything, but I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like Turtles 2, and I know that he was one of the Turtles in one, but when he was Kino and stuff, like I don't know, like him and
That's why it's
Raphael
my
had that.
favorite, dude. That's why
Yeah,
it's my
like him
favorite.
and Raphael had that interaction, and it was just like, man,
You know, he got
it,
hurt in Turtles 2, right?
hmm
I think a lot of people did.
yeah,
Oh, have you heard about his injury though?
No, what
no,
happened?
Okay, when he's doing that, he just takes off from Raph in the junkyard and does that flip. He actually got broken back during that and got laid up.
Oh my god.
And then there's the big accident with the net where all the stunt doubles got
yeah,
injured. Nick Palma, who you see at conventions all the
I know.
time, does wear a leg brace when he's at the conventions underneath that costume because of an injury from the set of Turtles 2.
Wow. Yeah, we
So
talked to Francois Chow about it, and he said like it was kind of a smaller set than he thought, in that everything was kind of moving around. It was the same set, but they just moved pieces around for perspective. So I'm guessing it was kind of cramped there too.
well, even the turtle lair, you walk into that set and it is like walking into an actual enclosed, it's like you're really there. It's not a half set where you have half over here and all the cameras and everything. No, you're actually walking through the same space that you see in the movie. So when they're filming from a different direction, those cameras are in the space you've already seen. And I know this because they used the same set for Ninja Turtles and X Mutation.
I was
So
going
you
to
can
ask
see,
that. Yeah.
you can see footage on Cowabunga Corner of me going through this in episode 15 on YouTube, where it's kind of fast motion. I want to do a slowdown version now that I got more time on YouTube. At the time, I was cramped down to 15 minutes, and we came into a side door, and I was up near where the ladder is. There's the steps going down. There's the subway train. There's Donatello's computer, there's the kitchen, there's the training area over here, and that's it. You're inside a very cramped set. And I didn't get to see it with all the cameras there. I didn't get to see it with the lights on. I got to see it when they were not filming, got to walk around it and hang out in the lair as if I was there when the turtles were living there. And that was probably one of the neatest experiences in my life.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. Did you like grab any dirt or anything like that so you could take it with you, or like anything?
That comic book page and the candle, which is why I know they're directly from the set.
Oh, good for you. Yeah, and then you had mentioned that. That's
and
so
it had trash all over the set because they were told to keep trashing it because they're teenagers.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Oh my god. I wanted to ask you one other thing about the Armageddon game and all that. So, did you know that Tom Waltz was going to name the meteor after you, or did you have any idea, or was that an absolute surprise?
I had Tom come up to me at a convention in September. It was shortly after my trip down to North Carolina. We went up the next week for State Granite Con. And Tom's like, you got to read the Armageddon games. You got to read it. You got to read it. You and your sister have to read it. You both have to read it. And then I saw him again at New York, and he's back at me again. You have to read it. As soon as it comes out, you have to read it. You have to read it. And we're like, okay, he's done something. He's done something. He's up to something. So as soon as the first couple issues are coming out, we're like, I haven't found anything yet. And then the week before it came out, I got a Twitter message from him saying, read it. It's coming out. It's coming out. I'm like going, oh, so it's in this next issue. And he told me afterwards, because I took a picture and I showed him saying, I found it, M. Ivey. And he's like, well, that is named after you and your sister, because my sister's Mickey Ivey and I'm Michele Ivey. So he's like, this is a nod to both of you, because every time he meets up with me, my sister's with us. We'll go to IDW and visit with him and stuff. We've known him since 2011. And Tom Waltz, if you guys have not met him yet,
We're trying, Tom.
He's such a big Turtle fan himself. He's a fanboy, and you can see it in the writing because he actually gets the personalities right.
Yes.
Like Michelangelo. Oh my goodness, those first 100 issues, I love his Mikey. I adore his Mikey. I went to him and I'm like, dude, thank you for giving Mikey the respect and the writing that he deserves. So many times he gets dumbed down because he's the party dude. He's the goof off. 4Kids got him right. The original movies got him right. And IDW and Mirage have him right. But I have issues with other versions of Mikey, like the 2012 version. Greg, you're an awesome person, but when they had Greg Sipes voice Michelangelo, they decided to have Michelangelo act like Greg Sipes instead of having Greg Sipes act like Michelangelo, to the point where they're giving him like these thought bubbles, showing that he really doesn't understand what his brothers are talking about. Mikey's a lot smarter than he wants them to know. As he says in the 2003 series, Don and Raph are doing dishes. Mikey pops his head in and goes, "Can I help?" And April's, "Keep him away from the china." And it works, and dances out of the room. And they look at each other. Is it me or is it getting worse? But in season 4, Leo's in his funk stage, and Raph and Don are standing off to the side picking on him. And Mikey leans over and says, "Hey guys, lean off, get off of his back about this, because if it wasn't for Leo, Don couldn't be in his lab doing his techie stuff. Raph couldn't go off and do whatever Raph does. I couldn't do my video games and comic book. Leo takes all the stress off of our shelves." It just shows more and more how intelligent Mikey is. And if you watch that series, you see how many of the plans he actually ends up helping with.
Oh, yeah.
There's a reason he's a Battle Nexus champion, and it's not a mistake.
He is the Battle Nexus champion.
He is.
Exactly
He is.
right. Yeah.
I think he gets too big of a head sometimes, but yeah.
But with that, it's Mikey saying, "I don't want responsibility. I don't want to be the leader. I don't want the stress on my shell. So I'm going to goof off so nobody wants to put the stress on my shell." And that's Mikey. He's a lot smarter. You got to be smart to use the nunchucks. Otherwise, you'd be whacking yourself constantly. He's not an airhead like so many try to say Mikey is. Oh, he's the dumb one because he's the party dude. No, he's the party dude because he wants to be able to relax. His life is stressful enough. He's going to give the stress to somebody who wants it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I love that from the very beginning, the way that Tom Waltz characterizes Mikey as he's the one with the heart. He's the one with the feelings, that cares about everybody. And then like you go in 16 issues and you're like, he's trying to befriend Slash. Then he's trying to befriend Leatherhead, and he's trying to befriend all these people. And I mean,
he puts his foot down about being part of the Foot Clan.
Yeah.
He's the one. He's the one that says, "Hell no, I'm not doing this."
I also like to point out he does start a podcast. So, just saying, great minds think alike, Mikey. So, but with Tom Waltz, it's like, how layered are these characters? Like, what I was just rereading the Fugitoid issue because we were doing that, and I'm like, what a brilliant move to do that. It's so dovetailed and just like intertwined with like, I'm like, how many moves far ahead is Tom Waltz seeing? And then stuff he didn't even know about, because we talked to Mateus Santaluco on here about like Kitsune and all that. Waltz didn't even know about that. Oh my God. And then it's like he gets the Foot Clan stuff, and he's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, there's a pantheon of gods, and this character that created the Foot Clan is part of that pantheon, and now there's an Armageddon game." Boom, mic drop. Thanks, Tom Waltz. It's like,
Tom is so awesome. When I first went to IDW, I didn't know what I was walking in on. And we just spent hours off camera talking and geeking about all the past Ninja Turtles. So when I got on camera, it was hard to stay on topic because we would just keep going off. That interview is so much longer than what ended up being posted. I have all this cut scenes that when I do get back into editing, I got material for Cowabunga Corner for years to come.
Oh, wow.
Years.
Yeah, we got to get
stories for years. I already know it.
Yeah.
Huh?
I said you got stories. We could probably do like a whole season or 3 or 5.
We won't keep it too much longer. We're just going to get to the obligatory pizza questions now. So
I gotta mention this with people who did the longest interview with me that needs to get out because now he's completely gone, and I want to get more of his stories out there. David Wise. I ask him a question and he'll give me like a half hour, 40-minute answer.
Wow.
He just knew how to talk. He talks as well as he writes. And David, I've got 2 interviews with him. One where it's been edited on Cowabunga Corner, but my very first interview with him was a phone interview, and it's on a tape cassette from 1997.
David Weiss was a writer for the '87 cartoon, right?
Turtles, yeah.
The original writer.
Yes,
The
He
one that
wrote the
came up
first
with
5
Cowabunga.
episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's actually like a treasure. I hope that you get that back up, because that would be fantastic. I mean, that's
Yes.
like, he would have been amazing to have on.
Him and Bill Wolf. I have extra stuff on Bill Wolf as well, and they both died a week apart from each other.
Wow.
And
Have
they
you
were
met
both.
Fred Wolf?
No, but I got a check from him once.
Did you really?
They helped with my Kickstarter.
Oh, wow. Cool. I've heard some fun stories about him. So
He's a good guy. He is.
that's not what I heard, but still, that's
I got some hilarious stories from him from his son.
Oh, okay.
Because Bill was telling stories, and I wish Bill was still with us. Bill is really a good guy. I could say that openly, because Bill, he invited us into his house. He did a drawing for me. That's inside the book. He did a drawing for me, and I didn't know he was doing this.
Telling you she needs security.
And when I showed up at the house, he gave it to me.
You could always, show us what you're flipping through too. That's cool. But,
I mean, we're not going to.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Look at that. All 4 of them. That's beautiful.
Come on, Michelle.
Yeah, this full book is just sketches upon sketches.
Do you have a Rick Veitch in there? Any chance?
No, I don't. I want one. Oh my God. He's on the list. I have original artwork of his. Because I have a page from Twilight of the Ring.
Yeah, that's huge. That's a huge one for all of us turtle heads too. Veitch is probably a unicorn to try to find something of. I know a lot of our art collectors in the turtle art groups are looking for that.
That was the first original comic art page I ever got, and it was sent to me by a friend.
That was like my first turtle issue, I think. I'm like, why did this turtle bite someone's finger off? I'm like, oh, it's a weird journey. Oh, what's this, bloodworm? Okay, yeah,
It's one of my favorite issues. When I first saw it, I thought the art looked a little weird to me, but then I read the story and I got hooked to the story and kept reading and just fell in love with it.
It was that, and like I mentioned, the Souls Winter and the AC Farley vampire one where Donnie makes the giant mech suit. Like that's the one that I go back to. I'm like, yeah, they're fighting vampires in a giant turtleneck. Okay, great, I'm in. It's like, well, I don't want to keep you all day, so we want to ask you about pizza. You've been all around the country. You've had pizza everywhere. Is there any place that sticks out to you as like, they have my favorite pizza?
Well, there are 3 areas, I'll say. One, I grew up a Michiganer, so I like Michigan pizza. There's a place called Pizza Connection, which I actually reference in my first Shapers book. Oh, cool. It's named a few times, and that is a real pizza place, and it's where I went growing up. In New York City, sadly, the pizza place is closed. There is a new pizza place sitting where it was, but it will never be the pizza place it originally was. It was originally called Famous Ray's, and it's not connected to the other Ray's. I will never go to another Ray's because they sued this place for the name. Even though this place was open before the other Ray's opened, they trademarked the name and was able to get the name away from him. And so they renamed it Rorio's Pizza. And I went there while they were still... Huh?
Is that in the Bronx?
No, it's in the Greenwich area. It's at 6th Avenue and 11th. And I went there. I started going there in 2005 as a recommendation from a friend of mine from Mirage, actually. Molly Bodie recommended it. And I went there when they were closed, and I was taking pictures of the outside of the place closed to put on Cowabunga Corner. And this guy comes up to me and starts asking me questions, and he tells me he's the owner, and his name's Mario. And he tells me they're reopening with the name Rorio's, Famous Rorio's Pizza, and shares his story with me. And I wish I had a camera on him. I wish I videotaped this. See, he was there for the same reason that Molly told me to go there. He was there when they were filming Roy's Pizza for Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze.
Oh,
it was that filming location, and he's the owner of the place, and that was the pizza. The next time I went, it was Royals Pizza, and I see a sign on the wall. I get my food. I don't normally talk with the guys behind the counter, so I don't know these guys. And I go and sit down at a table, and I look at a newspaper clipping right next to my head, and it's in memory of Mario, and he passed away shortly after they reopened. And it was his sons trying to keep the place open. It closed down, became a Chinese restaurant. I never got to see it as a Chinese restaurant. Somebody else told me there was a Chinese restaurant there. And then this last New York City Comic Con, we walked by and there's a pizza place there now. But now where we used to sit is where the kitchen is, and where the kitchen used to be is where they have their tables and chairs.
Oh,
So it
so
looks
weird.
it just baffles my mind to look at the place. It's not the same as it used to be. But when I was going, it still looked the same as it did when they filmed Turtles 2.
Wow. And is that the place that Kino was delivering the pizza from?
Yeah. April.
Damn.
No, hey, Kino, we got another order for that O'Neill lady. You kidding me again? She ought to get it wholesale. Yeah. That scene at the beginning of the movie is right there at 6th and 11th. The building is still standing. That is the same building where they filmed that scene.
So what's your go-to toppings then for pizza?
I have two. One is the one that everyone picks on me for because VH1 made it sound like an outstanding pizza, but so many pizza places in Michigan have it, is the BLT pizza.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I don't get that as often because, one, there's very few pizza places that have it.
Is the lettuce put on cold or hopefully afterwards? The lettuce is put on after BLT?
The mayo and the lettuce is put on after.
Okay.
So it's cooked and it's got the cheese on it, and then they'll add the mayo and the lettuce. Most of the time, they don't do the tomato sauce. But the first place that I would go to, I was in 3rd grade. Ninja Turtles was not even a part of my life when I first had it. They had the tomato sauce still on it, and I don't like fresh tomato. So I always considered the tomato sauce my tomato for my BLT.
Yep.
And now I go to all these pizza places that have it. There's the Green Lantern. That's a tiny chain in Michigan that has it. Jet's Pizza, which is outside of Michigan, so most people can find Jet's Pizza. I know it's even here in Kentucky. It's in Ohio. Jet's Pizza has it, but those places, they don't have the tomato sauce.
Oh, weird.
So yeah, there's the BLT pizza, but my main go-to, which I will almost always pick if I'm getting a pizza to myself or with other people who like it, is Hawaiian. I love pineapple on pizza.
Yay!
And Kevin Eastman likes the Hawaiian with jalapeno. And I could say Stephen Amell loves the Hawaiian pizza and about freaked when I ordered it from him in New York, saying, "Are you from Toronto? Everyone in Toronto loves Hawaiian."
Oh, wow.
So, yes, I'm a Hawaiian person, have been my entire life.
I can't believe that Stephen Amell even eats pizza. That's so hilarious. Yeah. Poor Eric. Eric, like, if we were going to tally the number of guests that we have that like pineapple on pizza right now, they would be winning. So, and Eric is against it. But for the record, Kevin Eastman, Francois Chow, Ken Scott, all like pineapple on pizza. So,
yeah, it's so good.
Everybody's going against me.
They're all. I'll say you're winning though for our guests that their favorite turtle is Raph. You're winning that one. So yeah, majority rules.
I'm totally a Mikey fan. Besides, for 2 different series, 2012 is Raph, and the next mutation is Raph.
Interesting. Okay, well, you like him on that motorcycle. That's like the most seen part of Next Mutation is Raph on that motorcycle. So
don't tell Mitch that. If you talk to Mitch and you ever interview Mitch and say, "I like it when you're on the motorcycle," you'll make him sad.
Hi, Courtney.
Huh?
Hi, Courtney Eastman.
Oh, hi, Courtney.
Hey, Courtney, we were just talking about you. We said you're amazing. So keep up the good work of keeping Kevin on track of what he's got to do, and we appreciate all you do.
He needs that help.
Yeah.
Mitch is the actor who wears the Raph costume, and he drives a motorcycle to work every day. In fact, we have video of following him on his motorcycle, and he was so excited when Raph was driving a motorcycle, but then he was brokenhearted when he found out he wasn't even allowed to drive the motorcycle. The only stunt turtle was.
Yeah.
Hi, Courtney.
It's so funny because I had an interview with Burt Ward, and it was the exact opposite, where it's like they put him in that seat in the Batmobile, but they didn't have Adam West in there, and Burt Ward actually fell out because this thing is a death trap. So it's kind of crazy. So like he probably would have loved that, but it was the '60s; it was a different time. So
yeah, a lot different times. They made a lot of people do their stunts back then. I mentioned the monkey stuff. And I grew up around Mickey Dolenz, and you hear a lot of behind the scenes stuff that they had to do back then that you don't even hear now.
We've
And
seen him around here. He plays a place in St. Charles, Illinois called the Arcada. I saw him like one day I drove out of work and I'm like, yeah, that's Mickey Dolenz, like on the corner. I'm like, okay, as you do. Yeah.
well, I grew up around him. My sister worked for him for years. So she would do like photography, his webpage design. We'd work the merch tables at his concerts.
Oh, cool.
So I grew up with Davey, Mickey, and Peter around me.
Nice. Yeah.
So now it's very hard to think the other three guys are gone. I never got to know Mike, but I have seen him perform a few times.
Did you ever see Peter play his harp?
No.
Yeah, maybe that was just for the show. So anyone else out there, I love the Monkees too. You know, that was one of those things on Nick at Night that I just really got into. It was on after Mr. Ed when I grew up. So I like the Monkees a lot.
For fandoms, that's my favorite band.
Oh, wow. You and Marge Simpson. So, you know.
I like them. I like Weird Al Yankovic and some Rush.
You can't see I've got literally Weird Al and Rush stuff on the wall here. So, but that's a whole different podcast that I do. So, Michelle, if you're a Rush fan, maybe I'll have you on my show to talk about music for Rush. So, are you a big Rush
could talk a little bit. I don't even know the names of the guys in the band. I just have a couple of the soundtracks where I'm hooked to a few songs. Like Mission is my all-time favorite Rush song.
Nice. Yeah, I like 2112 myself. That's a good one. Or the Priests of Ceres. That's a pretty cool one. It's this really high concept thing where this guy in the future finds a guitar and learns how to play guitar, and it kind of breaks the control of these computers. It's so insane, but it's like, this is so Rush.
You're going to have to send me the name of that song, because I don't think I've heard that. As I said, I only have 2 soundtracks, and the reason I have any is because a friend of mine from my high school days, in 2000, she took me out on this drive, June 2000, and she's like, this song makes me think of you, and she played Mission. And then a week later, I'm in Minnesota visiting another friend, and I found out she died in a car accident.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
And so I went out and got 2 soundtracks trying to find a song because I didn't remember the name of the song. And I got to know Mission by heart because that is the song that I relate back to mine and her friendship. And I lost 2 friends that year. That was a bad year. I hate 2000. I miss the 90s. Can I have the 90s back, please?
So right before we go, I just wanted to mention one thing, and this was something that you don't know, and Eric doesn't know, but recently, last year, you lost a friend, Metalhead Roger. It was Roger, right?
Yeah.
I had reached out to him to be on the show. And I was hoping that I could have got him on the show and all that. And it's one of the big regrets that we never got a chance to actually get him on and all that. So it's just one of those things. Do you have a good Roger story that you could tell everybody?
Oh my God, I got so many. Roger became one of my best friends. And it's kind of weird how we met. I am very open. I'm always trying to meet other Turtle fans. That's why I'm like, if people see me out in the wild, say hi, because I want more friends who love Ninja Turtles.
Absolutely.
And
we miss Roger too. Like I said, I tried to get him Splinter's 5th son, Metalhead is called, so.
Yeah. I was at New York City Comic Con, and I had business cards for TMNT, which was the main message board I was running at the time. And I went down the line, and anyone who was wearing Ninja Turtle stuff, I gave them a business card. And he was I was in the front of the line. He was all the way near the back of the line. And this is the very first time they did a panel for the Nickelodeon series at New York City Comic Con. And I ran up to him because he was wearing a turtle hoodie with a rubber mask over his face. And I gave him a card. And we didn't get to talk because he wasn't that good at talking through the mask. And then I started getting email from him, and he's like, I want to send you a turtle gift. And he sent me the Ninja Turtle piggy bank of Raph, the first one that came out. And then we start communicating more. He's like, you coming to New York City Comic Con? And I've never missed it. I've been going since year 1. And he's like, well, can we meet up this time? Well, he meets up, and he finds out that Mickey and I are camping in our vehicle, which is what we do at a lot of these trips. And he's like, no, I insist that you guys stay at my hotel room. And he took the floor and gave us the bed, which completely shocked us. And it was such a tiny room. And then he starts sponsoring us for New York City Comic Con every year. We'd stay in his hotel. and do all these trips. But one of my favorite all-time trips with him was going up to Shellback Artworks for their closing event. And we got to ride in the car together. And this is the only time where we actually traveled together on one of our trips.
Wow.
And the entire way there, we're rocking out to like the Coming Out of the Shells tour music. We're talking all this history stuff. We're just really getting into it. And we found more and more that our fandoms really we liked the same stuff. We had the same issues with stuff. And there's one more story that I have to bring up on just how much he's helped me personally. I don't know how many people know this, but I have been suicidal several times in my life. I've gone through a lot of depression. I go through a nerve condition called chronic regional pain syndrome, where I'm in pain 24/7. I've got a wire in my spine and a battery in my chest and a remote control to try and help control the pain. But I go through attacks that can last up to 7 hours long, where I cannot talk, I can't move, I can't walk. I'm just kicking out and crying in pain. And it gets if you look up RSD or /CRPS, you see that another name for it is the suicide disease because of how bad this pain is. And I've had it since 2004. And in 2016, I got attacked mentally by workers' compensation, threatening my income. And I was trying to fight for it. I was trying to go through court. And my attacks went from 2 to 3 a month to 4 to 5 a week. And it was serious. It was to where I was bedridden during the winters. And my antidepressant, because I hate pills, they just cause headaches and put you to sleep, is making other people smile. So the way I was trying to do that, so this is archived through my Facebook, is I would get on while I'm in bed and do Facebook Lives just to be able to make people laugh on Facebook Live. Well, Roger's one of the few people I've given my phone number to. And at the time, he was going through some really stressful, depressing stuff with his father. And so when we talk on the phone, we were both venting all of the crap out of our mouths about what was going on in our lives. It was just trying to find somebody that we could talk to that understood. And he knew I wasn't really there. And I don't know how. We called up, and it's January 2016. No, it's 2017. And because those were the 2 years I was bedridden during the winter. And we're talking on the phone. And he brought up that there is this Ninja Turtle cookie. He can't remember the name of it. But it's one of those very old Ninja Turtle cookies, and nobody remembers it. Everybody always talks about the Crunch-A-Bungas, the cereal. Everyone talks about like the Teddy Graham Ninja Turtle cookies that come in that plastic container or the boxes.
Oh,
but
yeah.
There was this Ninja Turtle cookie, and I go, was it chocolate with this green icing around it? And he kept trying to correct me on what it was. And as he describes it, I'm like, it's called shell cookies. It's the shell cookies. It's the shell. It was an orange box. It's the shell cookies. And he keeps correcting me. I'm like, oh, I can't take this anymore. And I looked towards the set because I was still filming toy reviews at home at this time. So I had a little bit of a Cowabunga Corner set. And underneath the glass plate on the desk was an actual box of the shell cookies. I go and I slide that box out from underneath there. And I take my iPad, get a picture, and I send the picture to him. I'm like, hey, check your messages. And he checks his messages and he starts crying. Oh my God, you're right. It's the shell cookies. Oh my God, I haven't seen these in years. And he just starts sobbing on the phone going, I can't believe you actually know what. And as he's sobbing, we start then talking and reminiscing about all this turtle stuff. And our phone calls, which would usually be a half hour to an hour, turned into about a 6-hour phone call of Ninja Turtle reminiscing. He made me feel so good that I did a year's worth of Cowabunga stories where they were edited and up on the website, scheduled to post every Friday for an entire year. And I started writing the Shaper books, which is the version that is coming out. Because of that conversation, he helped kick me out of the depression enough to where I started to mentally clear up. And that's how much Roger has helped me in my life.
Damn.
Wow.
That's awesome. I had to mention him because, like I said, he was someone that is missed in the community. I tried, to the best to kind of encourage him when he's going along. And, it's I'm just glad that you had some nice
Yeah.
stories to share about him. So
What I could say is when he first found out he was sick, first of all, he knew something was wrong and he was going to the doctors a lot and trying to find out. And then in August of 2021, he was told that he might have leukemia. So he even debated going down to the farmhouse because he wasn't sure what was going on with him and he couldn't get vaccinated because of his health issues. And then in June 2022, he was told he has acute myeloid leukemia. He was told this 2 days before he was supposed to meet my sister and I in Pennsylvania to help us run a booth at a convention where the original voice cast was going to be.
oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh shoot! Why am I blank? It's happening this weekend. I have all these people. Are you coming out here for this?
Is that
No,
Hero?
I'm
No, that's not Heroes Con, right? That's in
no,
that's in,
no, no. It's not Heroes Con. And I know the name, and I'm just blanking on it right now. But I went to that convention, and I'm like, I got to do something for Roger here. And the booth I was running was my friend's artwork, and he had these letterbound books with Ninja Turtle designs etched into the cover. And so we got one of those books, and these books were like $50 books. A friend bought the book, donating towards the cause. She gave it to me, said, get your stuff that you want to do for Roger. So the first ones to sign the book, other than myself and my sister, are the original voice cast. And then we went around and started having friends sign the book. We got Kevin Eastman and Courtney, Stan Sakai did a full Usagi sketch, all the stuff. And then I got a hold of the address for the hospital, and I start text messaging Ernie Reyes Jr., Renee Jacobs, Kevin Eastman. I start reaching out to everyone through text messaging in June right away, and I'm sending them pictures of Roger. You met him at this event on this year. Da 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 da. Can you help and send him get well soon cards to this hospital? He started getting this mail like instantly because he was already told he's going to be there for about 3 months. And I start getting these phone calls where he's telling me off. Michelle, you're the only one who had my address. He's just like, I can't believe you did this. So there would be days like he caught pneumonia. And I remember this one particularly. It was one of the times where he had pneumonia where he's coughing and just sounding really hard up. And it's like late July. I'm on my trip out west. And I get this phone call from him, and he's just having a bad morning. It's one of the very few times I heard him really depressed during his illness. And we hang up. An hour later, I get a phone call, and all of a sudden that weak voice is gone. Michelle, what did you just do? I just got a package. Who in the world is Roby? Who is Roby? And I'm like, he's one of the writers for the Ninja Turtle cartoon. Open it up. Tell me what's in there.
Oh my
Roby
God.
sent him a get well soon card and a couple printed front pages, which named the episodes autographed.
Oh,
I was so thrilled. I just did everything I could. I was on the phone with him while he was in the hospital for 5 to 6 hours a day. Even at San Diego Comic-Con, I take an hour a day at the convention to step away from what was going on at the con just to talk with him. I always let him decide when we were hanging up. I never made the I gotta go call. I always said it's him that needs the company right now.
fantastic.
And he got out in September for a couple weeks before he was readmitted because he was told the cancer's only in one tiny part. He can go home. Sadly, within 2 to 3 weeks, it was back fully through his body, and he was admitted again. But during that time, I got to visit him, and I gave him that book. And I videoed the entire thing, so it's on his Facebook page. After he passed, I posted the video of him getting the book. And he's just going through the book, reading every single one, and he's just breaking down as he's seeing all this love, because he was getting full letters from friends who have met him at these events, and he was getting full drawings. He got a beautiful Usagi Yojimbo drawing from Stan. He got a sketch from Kevin. He got letters from each of the voice actors. He got Wayne Grayson, Greg Sipes, and Townsend Coleman all in one book.
That's really cool.
That was my last time seeing him. I cannot express how much this guy had a heart of gold and would do anything for anyone he met. Even if he just met you, he would take care of you. And there's not too many people left in the world like this. And Roger deserves so much better than what ended up happening to him. It was COVID that took him in the end.
Oh, I didn't know that. I just know he went quick because I mean I didn't even get a chance to hear back. You know.
Yeah, he got home and he caught COVID within the same week he came home. It was brought in by one of his other family members. I went to try and call him because I talked to the day to he was let out and they were telling him all the good stuff on how he's clear, he's going to be okay. He's gotten through the leukemia part. And then next time I tried calling him, and we talked for about 5 hours that Sunday, he got released. Next time I tried calling him, I got a text back saying I'm too sick, I can't talk. And he talked to me when he had pneumonia.
Wow.
But this time he couldn't talk. Then my last text from him was Happy Thanksgiving. And then he passed away the following week. He went into the hospital the day after Thanksgiving, and that was the end.
There's something that is so powerful about this fandom, about being like in this turtle family, being connected to all the people that you're connected to and all that. And I mean, you even said as much yourself, like when you were saying this snapped me out of my almost suicidal funk and all that. And that's that energy that we try to reconnect people with, whether we're talking to artists or writers or actors or, legends like yourself, and that's why I wanted to bring up Roger, just to throw him, the respect that he's due for people that didn't know this guy. But it's like, I mean, we recognized it. I wanted to have him on the show to talk about this stuff, the same stuff you're talking about. And I'm so happy and honored that you're able to bring that up. And I hope people don't see this as a downer, because it's like, this is just like a really important thing. And it's like, this was someone that it's like, we want to celebrate his life and be like, hey man, Metalhead was a real guy, and he was the man,
Yeah, he I mean, like you explained, he's a big part of your life. I mean, he helped you through a very, very, very rough time. And, I can relate to you in a lot of ways. I've had a person where, really helped me, where he called me and helped me out through a rough process. Big thanks to Stephen Wall. But like, with the turtle fandom, I mean, besides of all the other stuff with the collecting and the figurines, but with the people, with like I said, I got to meet you. It's like Kevin is huge, like he loves his fans, and if he could sit there for an hour, talk to one fan for an hour straight, but Courtney keeps him moving because there's so many people that are there trying to see him.
Kevin started off as a fanboy. Kevin is still a fanboy. And because he's a fanboy, he understands us on a level that most celebrities don't understand, because they don't start off in the same boat we do.
But that right there is what it's about, is Kevin and Peter created something, created these different characters of these turtles. And it's, in a lot of ways, like you're relatable to a certain turtle, like he's relatable to a certain turtle. To me, you can relate to each one, and you know what I'm saying? Like everybody has their own.
I've got all four, but Mikey's the strongest.
But you know what I'm saying? It's so much more than just, like I said, like, oh, I got, I got these autographs, I got this collection and all this stuff. To me, I feel, like also the turtle people, everybody, the turtle group, turtle fandom has helped me out in a lot of ways. It's just, I don't know. It's like a family. It's an extended family to me. As far as I know, I would have never met Justin and be on this pod. I never thought I'd be sitting here doing a podcast for the past couple of years, and I've been doing the podcast with Justin for the past couple of years, and it's just like, but it's like a family. Like we reach out to people, we talk to artists, we talk to Kevin, we talk to you, and it's more, it's a lot more than just those four characters. It's deeper than that. It's deeper, is the way I see it.
Well, my line about the fandom is, it does not matter what you own, it does not matter who you've met or where you've been. What matters is the passion, and it's something that we all have, and it cannot be measured. So every fan is equal. It's to the point where I want to do, and I know a lot of people know my line is I want to do a Ninja Turtle museum. And a section of that museum I want to have dedicated to the fans to where it be interchangeable between different fans and creative talents where the stuff can be displayed. And let's say a fan doesn't have a collection. Every fan has a story. And if you don't have a collection, we still want to share your story to where we can have artists and stuff illustrate your story and put it into a museum. And I think that kind of stuff, sharing people to where it's not just about, because there's so many jealous people also out there who are like, well,
we touched on that a little.
I love this, but I don't have this collection, and you do, but you think you're a bigger fan because you have this collection. No, I don't. That's not how I feel, and I'm not in a competition. I've never been in a competition with this. I think all fans are equal, and I want to be friends with everyone as much. And I am friends with anyone who comes to me until they stab me. That's my rule. So everyone's equal. Everyone's awesome. We all have our amazing stories. Even the people I'm not friends with in the fandom, I still appreciate they're part of the fandom.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just one of those things. It's like, how can we be better fans? You know, how can we, you know, I'm not a huge fan of Rise, but I'm not going to go on and like lambaste it, you know, like it is what it is. But now we've got this new movie coming out. I'm embracing the hell out of it because I understand it's not necessarily meant for me, although I am going to probably buy all the crap from it. But, you know, it's not, you know, it's not mine, but that's going to be my friend's 8-year-old kid is going to like just as much Turtle stuff as I do. He's going to go back and watch the 90s movies, the 2007 movie that I'm obsessed with, and he's going to want to read the comics and all that, and that is good. A rising tide raises all ships, you know?
Do you know my connection to the 2007 movie?
No, I don't. What is it?
Well, I'm the reason that the swords are broken.
Interesting. Okay.
I was a script consultant for the 2007 movie.
You didn't lead with that. All right, we're gonna have to talk about that another time. But we're approaching 2 hours here. I want to thank you so much for being on. We're gonna have to do this again because I have a feeling there's a lot more we've yet to uncover. Eric, do you have anything for Michele?
No, it's an absolute honor having you on here. You know, it's just, you know, telling your story a little bit so more people get to understand it. Like, not everybody knows your story. I've got a taste of a little bit, and I mean, this is just the beginning.
And we really wanted to know more about you, and that's why we asked you questions about like The Shining and your fandoms, and you know why you gave Doctor Sleep 1.5 stars. I like that kind of stuff.
Not 1.5 star, only a half star.
Oh, only a half star. Okay, even worse. So that's great. But
it's lucky it got that.
So where do you want folks to find you to interact with you? What's
Instagram.
The best
Cowabunga Corner on Instagram. That is the best area to find me. Anything I post to Facebook is usually from Instagram. I find difference in my interactions between the two areas. One, I do approve friend requests on Facebook. It's just a long wait because I'm weaning out all the scammers. Because I used to get like 50 friend requests a day, and I've got it down to where I'm getting more like 10 friend requests a day, but I still wait. So Instagram's the fastest way you can get a hold of me. And then if you're talking to me there and want to get on my Facebook, you just let me know your name and you'll get approved a lot faster on Facebook.
That's awesome. Hey, Eric, are you up for this? You know how Michele usually kicks off her live streams by singing a certain song? You want to sing along with her?
Let's do it.
We got to do this. On you, Michele. Whenever you're ready, you want to sing that Turtles theme song.
Okay. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Heroes in a Half-Shell, Turtle Power. They're the world's most fearsome fighting team. We're really hit. They're heroes in a half-shell and they're green. Hey, get a grip. When the evil Shredder attacks, the Turtle Boys don't cut no slack. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Splinter taught them to be a ninja team. He's a radical rat. Leonardo leads Donatello does machines. That's a fact, Jack. Raphael's cool but rude. Give me a break. Michelangelo's a party dude. Party! Hey, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Heroes in a Half-Shell. Turtle Power.
Yes. All right. That's awesome. With that, we will catch you next time on Epic Tales from the Sewers.
Cowabunga!